Hi, everybody. Welcome to one of our new projects. We talked to the owner, Aram, in November. So we're talking in November about the planting area. And he's got two of them, actually. There's one on top that you'll see. And he had this tarped for 2 years, this area. And we came in with a perennial design, and that's what we're doing right now, the perennial patterns. We're using different patterns, some patterns I've used before. But it's very exciting because one, I'm using some new grasses I haven't used. I'm using a fescue, which I'll show you later. And we're also using some vernonias, summer swan song in some large places along the wall. The walls are very inviting for textures and larger plants along the walls going down the slope. So anyway, I thought to give you an introduction to the site. We used about maybe 2,000 perennials, and we're finishing up the planting now. We laid them out the other day. Heidi and I laid them out, and I got Pia's here, which is too good. This is Pia.
Hi.
And she's going to be the gardener here. So she's here today doing something very important. She's planting the plants and actually putting the plants in the ground, so you have a real connection and relationship to the garden, other than just showing up 2 weeks later wondering how did all this happen. So Pia, how did you become the gardener? What happened here?
The owner of the property works for the same company that my husband does, and this had been a hobby of mine at home, so he recommended me, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
And what got you interested in it? How did you think, well, I got a lot of work at home, why would I take on
It started with a vegetable garden in relation to me being a chef, and kind of just grew from there. And then once we moved to a home where we had a yard, I really started getting into the flowers and the perennial side. Yeah.
So this is like new and exciting at the same time.
Yep.
Okay, good. So how do you feel about the planting?
Oh, it's been a fun day so far. Yeah.
And it's different. We used for the crew that's here, Guillermo's crew, we introduced them to the drill. So they started with a shovel, thinking, well, why would I use a drill? And you know where that shovel is right now? It's laying on that tree all by itself, because when they discovered the drill, they just went right through the planting, drilling and drilling, and it's working out really well. So when do you think you'll start the garden? Because the garden's here.
Oh, yeah.
Soon.
Oh, yeah. Probably in a week or so.
Super.
Yeah.
So I think this is very important, because when you think of design work with perennials, you think that I have this notion or feeling everybody wants to be a perennial designer, put plants in, native, non-native, and they all want to be Pete Oudoff. And I think, well, first of all, who is Pete Oudoff? Pete Oudoff knows more about plants than most people know about their best friend. And that's why he's very successful putting his plantings together. Thomas Stewart Smith is that way, and a lot of other good designers know plants. So I think the important part of the garden is having the gardener introduced to the plants like Pia right away, because she's going to befriend all these plants actually without even knowing it. Every day she shows up, she's going to leave with a little more awareness and knowledge of who the plants are, how they live, and how they grow. And it's exciting for me, because when I leave, I know someone's going to be a good parent to all these children. And here she is. So I'm very excited about finding a good gardener to take care of it from the beginning.
Hi, everyone. We're back at our many-phased project here in Illinois. We have a orchard and a working vegetable and grassery, all sorts of pieces to this project, as well as a big perennial installation. We're going to walk you through it. The top part of this plateau that I'm about to take you through is going to be a planted meadow with fescue and other grasses as well, and then really reaching into all sorts of fruit trees, from apple to peach to pear to mulberry to currant, as well as a shrub layer and multiple rows of perennials. So let's go through it and I'll show you what's happening.
All right, we're at the beginning of the orchard here, and we're going to start out with a nice grassery, which is actually just a explanation of different grasses, different heights, different textures, different seed heads, and it's a nice soft way to kind of bring this orchard away from the woods that's surrounding this property, as well as a complement to the home. The home is contemporary but has some traditional lines to it. The grasses will fill in this area. Does not take long to start something like that. They'll fill in rather quickly. We'll just do it this year. Probably by fall they'll be looking great. We'll continue on with some fruit trees, and the whole scope of the area up here is multi-fruits. We'll be with apples, pears, peaches, mulberry, currants. There's a few others that I'm not coming up with at the moment because they're not planted, but again, pretty beginning stage. Just pin flags are going down, and then we'll move into a vegetable area. All right, welcome to the vegetable area. We're going to produce 4 beds. They're about 20 by 8. You can see some dirt mounds on it at the moment. That's going to be feathered out. These are formed into like petals. There's 4 of them, which will also allow paths around it for working through it. Owner has some real keen designs on food and would like edible everything. So we're from herbs to kitchen gardens, culinary foods will be planted in each one of these beds. Right behind us, we have garlic that's been growing from the previous years. We will continue to let that grow. It'll be harvested July or August, and then whatever's left in the soil will move into some of the beds. All right, I'm standing at the threshold of the orchard. It'll be the entryway into the vegetable area. And this is actually a set of stairs that are going to be cut into the hillside that'll replicate some of the stonework that's around the owner's home. On either side, we'll have it lined with currants as well as perennial borders that also will mimic a lot of some of the perennials we've put down on the bigger installation, but we'll be also including a lot of herbs and also edible flowers in these 2 beds. And it abuts the driveway, so again, hot sun, but the perennials we've chosen will be a good choice for this type of site.
So I thought I'd show you some of the patterns that we came up with in the design. This is Salvia Crystal Blue. Very nice soft blue flowers. The calyxes stay lime green, so it really goes from a soft blue to lime green. See the calyx, the lime green? And I've interplanted them at a 60-40 rate with Stakey's Humilo. So here are the Stakey's Humilo right here. We got 3 over here, then we drifted 3 in the front and 5 in the back, so you can change your rhythm. You can do 3-4, 4-3-4, whatever the rhythm of your music's going to be. And then we just drifted the Salvia Crystal Blue right between it. So I think that'll create a nice pattern. It's a pattern I've never done before. I got 2 different sets of verticals together, so I think it'll be interesting to see. The Humilo will probably be a little higher than the Stakey's Crystal Blue. And let's take a look over here. This is a pattern I used in Fontana on the boulevards. This is Spiralis heterolepis, and we've got Calamir's Blue Star going between the Spiralis heterolepis. Here we've got 3, we go to 2, Spiralis drifting in between, going around, and then we have Calamir's back here. So again, it's a simple pattern. And then I want to mention one thing about all these patterns in the front. Back in 2002, when Pete Outhoff came to the farm, he said, "Roy, your patterns look good, but you need to stretch them out more. You're too choppy." And I always let that echo through my design work, is try to stretch your patterns out so you don't, it's like pounding the piano. You're hitting music and key, those are notes, but it sounds terrible. So when you stretch your patterns out, you have a rhythm going, and you can meet a block. Like there I have 5 Agastache Blue Fortune. And then we start another pattern of this Champsia here. Agastache Blue Fortune, 5 right here, nice grouping. A little Summer Beauty, Allen Summer Beauty with Calamintha nepeta going up the hill. And then we have a long stretch of this Champsia Gold Towel on the lower end with Veronica Blue Skywalker. It's a very nice, rich, purpley blue, gets about 30 inches high. And it has Veronica longifolia parentage, so it takes moist soil. And this Champsia kind of drifting through the entire plant, and we have groups of 3 and 4 and 3 all the way through. So those are a few of the patterns we have on the lower end. let's take a walk up on top. What I'm doing here, I have Vernonia Summer Swan Song. So now when I have this area to fill, I'm putting 2 pot to pot. And people usually don't plant pot to pot, but I want the back one to be larger than the front one to fill this void here. And behind it I have Molinia Transparent. So the flowers are going to be like a fountain arching over the Vernonia Summer Swan Song, which will be about this high, covered later in purple flowers. But I want to build up a bigger grouping here than the one in the front. So I'm just going to put this one in. And you say, gee, Roy, you're using a shovel. I use shovels yet. Usually not an edging shovel, but it happens to be the right shovel here. Just break up the roots a little bit. And there it's pot to pot. And then the key is firm the soil. Don't fluff the soil back in. You want to firm it in so that the water doesn't rush by the container mix and dry out quickly. And we just put the leaf mulch back around it. We had the whole area leaf mulched with about 2 inches of leaf mulch prior to drilling. So we have the leaf mulch still scattered around the top. And as soon as we're done, we're going to just water it for about 4 hours. Just soak it intensely. You can't get the first watering too wet. And then after that, we'll just manage the watering based on rainfall and plant need. So we'll just look at the plants and see what the conditions are. And usually after we soak it real good, we'll soak it again maybe 3 days later. And then again look at rainfall amounts, what rainfall amounts we're getting. And it could be twice a week, depending on rainfall. And then in about 4 weeks, everything starts to root in. You get small roots, and then we cut back to maybe once a week watering. It depends on heat and rainfall. So the idea is you really have to pay attention to the weather, and you have to pay attention to the plants relating to the weather conditions. And we're going to do some pruning too, cut off some of the foliage, and then we'll get rebloom, but we want to shoot for a denser plant by pruning. So we just make this a little bigger. And then a combination we have up here, we have one group of Coreopsis Electric Avenue, and in front of that we have Amsonia Butterscotch. And on this we have Deschampsia with Liatris spicata going through the front, and again a little group of summer crush Stakes over here, and then a repetition of Coreopsis Electric Avenue. So I'll show you a few more patterns that I'm very excited about. Is up there we have Provskia, and I mentioned Liatris on the other end with Deschampsia. You can see the Provskia right there. That's Provskia little spire, and in between the little spire is Liatris spicata also. And the spicata goes into where P is planting with the Coreopsis Electric Avenue. So it'll have a continuity through 2 different plant groups, and then it goes up to the wall. And this is one of my favorite plants, Centaurea. I think it's Macrocephala. It's very tall, it has yellow thistle-like flowers, but the flower buds are like golden golf balls. So it's very tall, very vertical. Well, not very tall, it's about 4 feet, 4.5 feet tall. And that'll be against that rock ledge, rock wall, with Calmagrostis Carl Forster and Aster Violetta. It's a dark New England aster with dark flowers. And then also in there is Amsonia Butterscotch on the corner. Butterscotch is nice. It has a very butterscotch-like fall color. And it's very nice in the fall to have moments of that drifted through the garden and different combinations of plants with it. And when we have butterscotch over there with the Veronica, going into Deschampsia, the blue Skywalker, and then we have butterscotch right here with Monarda Bradburyana. That'll flower at the same time that the butterscotch is in bloom. And then we have butterscotch up in the corner, way up there in the corner, and that's with Echinacea sombrero orange, which is a burst of entertainment, burst of energy, let's say. And we also have sombrero orange drifting through Molinia Paul Peterson, a river of that going all the way from the top all the way down to the bottom. You can see the Millennia, it's a light green, weaving its way from the very top ledge all the way down to this set of rocks right here. And we put in sombrero orange. I use sombrero orange because it actually lives well. It's one of the few that I've had good fortune to. It really has lived well for the last 8-9 years. So I'm very excited about that. The red one comes and goes, but sombrero orange has done a great job of coming back, being durable and dependable.